I think there's also...
Hey, Carl.
Carl,
Go.
get it rolling. I mean, if you can just...
Hello, friends. Hello. So we're running a little bit late because of the weather, but I think we'll try to make it up somehow. Our first speaker is Connie from InnoAO, and one of the longest time friends we've had for HOU. And for those of you not in the country, InnoAO is National Optical Astronomical Observatory, the national observatory in the United States. They're located in Tucson. But our session chairperson is on her way. Suzanne Bai will take over from me, but I will want to get things going. Okay, so thank you, Connie.
Hey, everybody. Well, I've always wanted to come here. In my trip, actually, to see the 40-inch. And so thank you for letting me come and share this with you. At NOAO for the past 10 years or so, or actually less than that, about 6 years, we've been doing a dark skies program. And I have to say it's been a rather selfish thing at first because an observatory wants to have an observatory in a dark area. And so you want to tell the community around that dark area why they should keep their skies dark. But that actually grew. That program actually grew, and we got to understand that there's a lot of other reasons why we should be keeping the skies dark. And so this particular program that I'm trying to present to you now is along those lines. It involves first a program called Globe at Night. That's how everything started. It's a worldwide campaign where people just easily take measurements of their night sky brightness and submit them online. And out of that grew activities that the kids can do at various levels from 3rd grade on up through 12th grade, and some people are actually doing them in college as well. So I'll do the ones that are more applicable to the high school grade with you. Not all of them, just about 3 of them we'll talk about. One is a demo, and we'll start with that because that's the place you start with vocabulary, with the demo. And then we'll go on from there. But I wanted to get a kind of a feeling of your background. And I wanted to know how many of you are high school teachers. Yeah, and all of you are in either the GHOU or the GTTP program, right? So you have all done research with your students or with student degrees, no? You have not? Okay. And then in what capacity are the couple of people that you could get to know? How are you applying what you're learning here? Just kind of wondering what kind of knowledge. Very good. Okay, that's good. Okay. Well, the moon is a natural light polluter, but we're not talking about artificial. That's the only piece of graphics the whole thing. And with me today too is Bob. He's part of all this. He keeps me sane. So he's my partner in crime here. And with the children, I'm not going to necessarily ask you guys, but for the children, you should start out and say, okay, now, can you tell me the cities are? Okay. And they're like, oh yeah. I said, well, why is it you can tell those cities are? And that kind of introduces the topic of light pollution. So I said, well, why can you see those lights, And they get into the fact that, I want them to realize the light's going up into the atmosphere. It's totally wasted, never used. And so that's what we call basically light pollution. Yes, sir. What I'm doing is I'm giving you a CD. And it's not exactly, it has the same size basically. It's not exactly in order. I kind of scrambled them for the specification. But I'll tell you, what we're going to do at the end of all of this is that those of you who have an interest in the program, we're going to put your name in a little hat or something, and you're going to pick out 10 people that can take home kits. And those 10 kits are CDs. I couldn't bring 40 kits. Couldn't afford it. But And then we have 30 other CDs for the rest of the series. So those who don't get the kids can also take a CD and hand it. All right, so believe it or not, about half the world population now lives in cities. So henceforth, with all the technology that we have isolation as well. And this is just to illustrate the growth. Have you seen this before? This is a picture in the book. It was an amazing picture. A bunch of people took data from the Defense Meteorological Satellite, kind of reworked it to include basically transmission and elevation, and were able to project, to take the data from the 50s, 70s, late 90s, actually. Most of the data came from late 90s, I think it's projected backwards and forward. And this is when my children will be having their children, basically, and you can see that basically the eastern half of the United States is sucked in the light pollution.
Okay, that's a question.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Are these normalized to the same scale? That is, the red color there.
Yeah, it is normalized. It's a very good question. I believe it's normalized. It's a Susano et al. Paper. They have an atlas called Artificial Lifestyle Lighting. And it's all online. You can actually download it.
That's way much bigger than population.
Well,
population is double.
Right.
It doesn't look like it's like 5 or something.
Well, this one's 14 years from now. Yeah, so the only place you'll be able to go is basically the national parks. You think dark skies. Sorry. Yes, on the same location. Yeah. So I guess that's their radius. It might be, although that part of the picture, I'm wondering if that's natural. Yeah, it looks more like Appalachian. But we could try to figure that out a little later. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I know that area. Well, as I was alluding to at the very beginning, we did get into this the Southwest region. This is the national fund, and this is probably there has been some growth, but not as drastically as most other cities, primarily because they have pretty stiff ordinances here. They have lighting zones, and as you say, observatory is extremely protected. So most of the cities here are sodium lights, which are one of the best lights you can possibly light. Hello, not full light like Spectra. And so here, this is called shield, and downward directed light, not as most cities facing upwards. So this is what we're trying to advocate in other cities. It's not so much that you're telling people to turn off all their lights. It's not the point. The point is how to light response. And I want to get into some computer stuff here in the end. So I know that's primarily why a lot of people are here. A lot of it, though, is energy conservation. And that's a big thing. So in the United States alone, for instance, about $2 billion a year at least is wasted on light directed upward, which would be very well used elsewhere for education. But we also have issues of human health. And believe it or not, how many of you know that it actually has a tie to actually breast cancer? Yeah, they have studies now that are linking it. It's not absolutely conclusive yet, but the studies are leaning towards that because you're depleting the levels of melatonin, and that's what's basically the prime blocker for the reproduction of cancer cells. And there's other things like sleep disorders, if you have too much blue light. A lot of it has to do with indoor light, like when you monitor it, and if you're working late at night, things like that. But, some of it obviously is also against the outdoor light. And then there's issues of wildlife. So this is where it really tugs on the heartstrings of kids. Okay? Because they want to, they have a parent's desire to protect various types of animals. And typically what you want to do is find an animal in your region that might be infected by light pollution, like on the coast of Florida, there's the sea turtle. And a great fraction of them don't make it back into the ocean, primarily because they're distracted by the lights on shore. So instead of the light, the starlight or moonlight reflecting off the ocean, and they were using that to find their way back into the ocean, they head the opposite direction and they're back into the ocean. So they have curfews down there. At 8 o'clock at night, you draw your curtains. You can't have any light exposed towards the beach, and but the law. So thankfully, ways of address that particular situation. But there's moths, salamanders, frogs, various birds. It changes their habitable habitats, the migratory patterns, the reproduction of whatever it is, the bird or whatever. The whole ecosystem is kind of strained, at least, not changed. So, another way of thinking about technology and how we're imposing it on other, maybe how we might want to lessen that effect. So a lot of cool things that you can extend using this knowledge. You can extend in a variety of directions with your students and explore different areas that way. And so to do that, we've, with Rosa, a few years back now, we started something called Dark Skies Rangers for the GTTP program. And we've developed a few activities. You're seeing a new one today that we still have to kind of fine-tune, the Spectra of Lights activity. The first one we usually start with no matter what age and just kind of tailor it to that particular age. It's the light shielding demonstration, because that allows you a really good opportunity to introduce it to at the level, whatever level that you need to direct it to. And then after doing that, we have this panel of lights that on this very similar to it. It shows one the good panel of lighting, good lighting, and the other is the panel of bad lighting. And it shows you, shielded lights, which are good lights, that get belgian and stuff like that. Good lights, actually, so these are properly shielded. Yeah, it's shining up, right? We'll show you our little spot. The various types of lights, some good, some not so good, and this is shielded. But because that's how we kind of travel around. Once you use our area, the actual wood is day. And then we have a cool outdoor lighting audit that is a growing popularity. We have 3 different versions of that. One is the high school version that's on your CD, as well as the middle school version. So we're doing this in the interest of time. We're just kind of looking over a very easy version that I usually use in general. And then there's a student symposium. That is kind of a neat thing because you just do it with the kids. They interview people of different professions and see how light pollution affects those professions and make it they get into a video and have it. So it's really fun to do. And then we have a bunch of activities called Spectra activities. About how light pollution is responding. And also an advocacy thing where you end up doing a little bit of few little research on what are the magnitudes. Reader should build something to measure magnitude. So it's a very difficult concept to kind of talk about what a magnitude is. That kind of helps. And how do you find the constellations that you use for glow in the dark puffy thing? It's usually more applicable to middle school and that. Then of course we go to night kids supposed to if you do maybe at least 4 of these activities of some sort, particularly glow at night, get a nice Dark Skies Rangers certificate. All of that one here. And so all this stuff is basically on your CD plus a lot of ancillary. That's very similar to what you're seeing. Videos are coming. We already have 4 done. We're trying to vet them. For the coming year and a half or so. We're like like 4.5 years. So it's kind of hard to get a lot of things done. Very, and so the activities typically include a bunch of stuff teachers like to see. Things like you can kind of send it to other areas. All of the science standards, in this case, the national science standards. Different states to different science standards. Pinpoint that, but and then look at the worksheets and all. The one that's not so polished yet is actually one right now that I had this as an exercise for one of my students that works with us, and he did a pretty good job. It's just not the light spectrum, but we're going to be using it to form a more formalized activity. But they get you started, and they did a very good job on it. We have the kit that goes along with doing the activities, and primarily it has the light shielding demonstration in it. Start, not too much time on the intro itself. So it's the primary ingredient, and typically we usually for like a day workshop or a half week sky quality meter. And we have examples of that here. This is your sky quality meter that you use for low at night. You can either do it just visually or with this meter in itself. So you're welcome to play around with it. The smaller the number, the brighter the area. And the units are basically magnitudes per square arc second, which is just a brightness per area. Really? Okay. So any questions so far before I start the first session? It's actually magnitudes per square arc second.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. It's a very, it's a handheld thing. They also make it this by something called Vision. They make it connected by internet to the computer, so it's more sophisticated. They can download the data.
I remember lower than that.
I remember the dark of the sky. It's just random. So how many people you're probably all familiar with magnitudes, right? I wouldn't say that. You're not familiar with magnitudes? I wouldn't say that. Okay, well, magnitude is just a brightness scale used in astronomy, and yeah, it's long scale, so it's right. So we have this. I actually like it when people want to come and gather around the table, so it kind of gets you up and out of your seat. Now, come up right away. How about we do you have a camera in your computer, Connie?
Actually, I'm switching over to camera on my computer. I'll switch over to mine.
Exactly. Oh, you.
And
that's all right. What I did. Put it on the side. I have a black slide. So. Can we turn off the lights over there? Hi, Tim. Can you turn the lights off for me? I have to put something in front of it. You don't have to turn it off. Can I use this?
yeah.
Real life, real life, you're not going to have shadows and cool light. Real practice. And then downloaded about and so the shadow is not quite as far out of the way. Still flare. And so the number of people in this is very hard to stand it. Light's not going, that's concerned. And
So you don't have these are aluminum foil as recorded.
Aluminum foil, that'd be good. What else would you do? Paint the light red. That's an option I have never heard of. Okay. You have a BB gun. That's an option we can't use. It's a good option, but we can't use it.
Trying to improve the light in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got some significant glare.
There you go. All right.
Just have to bring in a giant with a hand.
He's doing it. That's exactly what we... Doing it? Oh, come on over. Okay, come and tell us what you would do here. What would you do is to make all the light go downward and not up into the space. What would you do? There's a big shadow here. Light is seeming like everyone.
That's one way of doing it.
There you go.
They don't want to blur. There you go. Do what you can. Or was it something else that's down there?
Wow.
Hey. Oh, very good. We have basically a PVC cap that we shellac the outside black so that it would be opaque. You want to put that over it? I'll hold the bottom for you.
Wow.
Go all the way down. So it has a pretty dramatic effect, and it does exactly what you want it to do. And it'll light all the way down. Yeah, it really is. So let me ask you, now that twice as much light is going down, what could you do to that light bulb? If 200 watts, what you could do with it? What you should do with it? Very powerful.
Yeah.
Uses up a lot of energy.
It does use up a lot. So how can we make it better? Less energy. So you might have 50, 100, 200, 300, 500, and maybe that one's a 200. What would you do?
Okay.
If I could unscrew it, would you replace it with something?
Maybe.
If it's 200, would you replace it with a 500?
So,
500. Brighter.
yeah.
No.
Because like this.
Yeah, you could cap it. Exactly. Now you have all the light going down, not half of it going up to where it's wasted. So basically, what you guys could do with that light bulb? Beckett. How could you help Beckett figure out what to do? If that was 200 watts, what would you do?
Put it. Make it less.
Yeah, you could make it less. Yeah, you probably. Yeah, make it less. Yeah, that's the right answer. And you can also put the cap on, right? The shield. Anyway, we can do it once more. And what else we have here is, you have to hold it up there. What's that? Thank you. And the other one is, see, you have these? Yeah. We have some stars here. And we usually have a lower ceiling. And when you do have a ceiling, like a nice white ceiling or anything actually, and you project this without that on there, so see this, you barely see the stars. It's pretty dramatic. And it's actually good over here. No. Pretty good closer. So you're blocking, yeah. So it's much more dramatic usually in the room when you see Oh my.
Here's the sky.
So we have, yeah, so you can see some of it. God wants it higher.
Little people can see it.
Put the cap on. Oh, the cap on there. Look here. Oh. Okay, see a little bit big.
Nice move.
Yay.
I don't know. Orion. It's Orion. It is Orion. We did that on purpose. There's Orion right there. Very good. Thank you so much for helping out.
That's something new over there.
So you start talking about energy. You say that you could change out the bulb to be something that's maybe half as much. So, and then by doing so, what do you save? And the kids say, oh, you save energy. And what else do your parents save on their monthly bills? Oh, they save money, right? That sort of thing. So you talk about saving costs and saving money. And so they've gotten the idea that you can actually, and then you talk about maybe an energy-efficient bulb, but you don't have to get too much into that because we have another activity that follows up on with this that talks about more energy-efficient bulbs. And so, but you do introduce vocabulary, and so when they think about the activities that are to come, they have some sort of foundation with which to use and get ideas of what the solutions are. And that's primarily what it is. Yes.
What kind of flashlight are you using this?
This is just a regular, it's like a mag light, but it's a cheap version. It's like $3.50 with the batteries at AutoZone. We took the reflector on them.
These are very useful for a lot of them.
They're good point sources.
Nice point source.
Does it have a name?
It's called Great Light.
Like,
Yeah, GREATLITE.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
And the more expensive mag light.
Yeah.
Right. Right. And that's what the nice thing about it is, but it's a difference of a factor of 4 in price. So we choose to get 4 of these over one of the.
That'll be 2 magazines.
Yeah. Well, and that's it. And this is what comes, with the kit.
Connie, do you know where that activity came from?
Well, it's had various versions. We developed it off of Chuck Buter's idea with the paper plate thing that he had.
There was a planetarium show called Save the Night.
Oh, Saving the Night. Yeah, it was with David Levy. Sorry.
And at Lawrence Hall of Science, the planetarium show was free. Mm-hmm. So we got that planetarium show, but we can't do a show that doesn't have activities in it.
Right.
So this is what we did.
Okay, I didn't know that.
I think that's where the activity came from.
Well, Chuck might have got it from that, and then I forwarded it from Chuck.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But the sky that you're creating there is ideally done in a planetarium.
Yes.
It's really dark.
Yes.
And this activity works great.
Yeah, and since you have usually flat ceilings, you don't mind using a.
Because then you can really see the effect on the whole sky.
Yeah.
In the planetarium.
So that's it for this particular part of it. So all right, so whoops, it goes back to the beginning. All right, hold on. All right, here we go. All right, so you can also do things like the 3 main types of light. You talk about glare, looking at the light, and it's blinding you so you can't see what's behind you. And there's an intersection here with a stop sign. You're in the playing field, the background with all the glaring lights. And then, of course, there's light trespass when you're sleeping and your neighbor's light comes to your bedroom window and you're unable to sleep. That's light trespass. And then sky glow, which everyone here probably knows about. We have particles in our atmosphere that the light reflects off of, which reduces your visibility of the night sky. So those are the kinds of things you can introduce with children. And make the point, basically, that you want the light to shine down, as we showed with the demonstration. You want to see the effect, that is the footprint on the ground. You don't want to see the light source itself necessarily, and you light only when and where you need it. This is a big point. So you have a curtain, maybe your lights turn off. That saves a lot of energy right there. And you want to use energy-efficient bulbs. That's basically what we go over with them in a little more detail. And I think that it is many examples we have of good and bad lighting, but I thought I'd show one. Wow. And this is a village in Patria, Chile. And this is the before and after picture. And when they decided to retrofit all of the lights in their little town and use not only energy-efficient bulbs, or actually low-level light bulbs, and then they also put on shields. So you can see the light on the ground, and it doesn't go up the atmosphere.
What was the name of the town?
Montpatria, M-O-N-T-E-P-A-T-R-I-A.
That's in New York?
You know, I think it is. So there you go with their demonstration. This is what I was talking about, these little panels of light that are kind of, well, I don't want to say finish your coffin, but that's what it looks like. And we can take them around to various workshops we do in the Tucson area. And of course, this is an example of not so good lighting. We have things like actually high pressure sodium light, both lights, the jelly jar is a different light in it. May have sort of a cap on the top, which is light source. This is the halogen, and it has like what you use on your carport. So, and people misdirect the angle typically, and that's the problem there. You end up seeing the source. And of course, this is a wonderful glare buster. So the CS element is fully shielded. Light elements go down. This is a motion sensor. Now it's double shielded. There's a couple of good examples. Yes, ma'am. One of the hardest parts of this is getting the home people that are very deep. So that's actually what we're done with light. That's the home people. I wonder if you have, this is one website I talked about at the end, but one website that is like the Bible, or the, I don't know what you want to call it, it's a really helpful site for all things like this. And if you want to know where to go, what manufacturers to get, that type of information, they have every time at the www.darksky.org. So that's the place to go, the darksky.org, and they'll give you all that manufacturing information. So they have certain ones that are fixture sealed. Is your question? Yeah, I think you're right, the Home Depot did not have a flare buster, but it did have that other shield.
Oh boy.
That was the only liquid. I understand totally. You can get it charted? If you can get that. Well, yeah, we actually did pre-IYA, which like a program called retrofitting. We tried to get a company sponsor this so that people could bring in their lights and then put it on education. And Jeff did try to year to day do all the process. It was really hard. And what we wanted to do was have a showcase. Like Lowe's, we have good lighting. Showcase stage, and it's what that means to display in there. So that we have, minus the good show. We had to end up just doing a PDF. characterizing lights. We do this actually with young kids too. We just don't get into the, how and so with our capital exhibitor in there, we have an example of our examples of inefficient light and better efficiency. So it's not transparent. And the children decide to us what they, of course, they will not hugely different. Nobody brought their spectroscope? Go for it. Now is the chance to test it. Oh, please, go closer.
Yeah, you can see the spectrum.
Yeah, very good. I know you all know the answer. And, with the older kids, they see the spectrum. With the young kids, you're going to talk about rainbow color. But, yeah, you have this, with the younger kids, we typically use, here, we only have a rule of about 500 per inch or so. And then we have to set these, some of them set down. For older kids?
Indeed.
Yeah,
You remember.
Beautiful, yeah.
You built this one in Portugal, didn't you?
Yes, we did. Oh my gosh. The acid.
I hold it to
Yeah,
you.
that's okay. It's all right. But I heard about that. That was wonderful. Okay, so you have 3 different choices, and depending on your age group, you choose, or depending on your wallet, you choose which ones you're going to use. Because probably like $21 or something for the hard triangular, which shape? Yeah, this is expensive. Okay, well, one of them. Oh, the Project Star Wars. I'm no Vanna White, everybody out there. Sorry about that. Okay. So, this is the way you probably want it. What you're trying to drive here is a very simple concept. It's not a deal breaker, but it gets you going in the right direction. You want to give them the concept that if you're seeing the entire spectrum, probably something that's wasting a lot of energy. Okay, in general.
Literally, there was a little raised bed, so they got picture phones. Just shoot one there and find one and shoot the others.
Yeah.
So you're teaching hidden light, and we have to get there.
Yep. That's a very good point. That's a very good point. Because here, this thing might give off, of all the energy it's giving off, 4% at best is coming out of the light. There's over 90% of it is coming out of heat. Okay. So that's, go ahead, Rob. You want to say something?
No.
Okay. You can chime in, though, anytime you want to. Yes.
Okay.
And so,
I like that one.
okay. All right. Well, we can do that in a moment. Yeah. So this is something you want to get across to them, because another point is that you cannot, by using your hands, undo the light bulb. It's not possible. You have to take a cloth or something to do it. It's so hot. So again, it's very inefficient compared to the other lights here. And then if you have the old enough kids, you can talk about, a little bit of the physics of it all. And you can say, well, how is this light generated? And then you can talk them Kirchhoff laws, it's a solid that's heated up, and then, it generates the light. again, an incandescent light bulb, there's a wire in here that's getting heated up, tungsten wire, okay, and that's creating, basically the glow, and a continuous spectrum. If they you can extend that, which they had to come. So there's the same spectrum there, but with a clear bulb. So you see the wire. So again, it's highly inefficient. 2 to 4% of the light of the energy that comes out in the light. And then you give them an alternative. What do you do? That's probably at least 3 to 4 times better, or maybe more, usually about 4 times better, than an incandescent light bulb. Or more efficient, I should say. So here, what are you seeing when you look at that?
Well, some lines.
You're actually seeing, you probably see the shape of the bulb, though, right?
Yeah.
That kind of interests the kids right there.
Yeah, almost red.
Cool. Yeah,
I have to do this.
You have your stuff under there?
This side.
I find a lot less red.
You can
I feel
see
a lot
what
less
is
red.
the line.
Yeah, there's red, there's green, blue, line, or band, blob, coils.
Wow. Wow.
I know.
But then
We don't have a split. That's why we don't have a basically a split.
No, it's the opposite.
Like a split.
No.
Yeah. Because if you take the current left side split, you just split a line. You're not the sort of yeah.
Look at that. Try it. Hey, did you look at it already? Oh, okay.
All right. So
It's really
what's
good.
going on here? They have high school kids. If you have high school kids, you can get into the physics of how this is happening. You have actually 2 things happening, and the reason they call it fluorescence is exactly what's happening. It's a fluorescence process. So you have the gas in there that's heated. It's generating, basically kind of light you see from mercury, only certain colors. Then it gets hit by the phosphorus on the tube, and that's actually fluorescence. So you see a new spectrum of phosphorus. In some cases with the spectrum, flash base that you have. If you're looking through the wonderful spectroscope that you have,
You test it on? Everyone's trying to test it on.
yeah, with the split, you're not seeing actually the bulb itself. You're not seeing the image of the bulb. You're seeing the spectrum. How it works. It's so rich conversation. What's that? You're actually heating up the gas inside the mercury gas. But that is actually. Say it again? Right. Yeah, and then when it hits you're giving out light you can't see, like UV light too, and the UV light is interacting with the phosphorus.
But using, what, a fifth?
What's that?
Percent of electricity. How much, what percent of electricity?
Oh, this is going to be 12%.
12%.
Yeah. It's about factor 4 higher than the incandescent light bulb. So it is more energy efficient. And you can actually touch it.
But if everybody changes all around into that, we shall have the same question as about if everybody uses too much mobile telephone, and it's worse because it's high frequency is the balance. So the question we are working on with some students, and other ones we are working on to what about LED that is you think it's a bit of a problem, but you have not the problem of the hyper frequency.
Right.
And this is in the studies, yeah, but of course just doing it. What is the most multitude of people when they, of course, they are, but here they the opposite. And that is why we have to search for maybe we select which are we don't know, but we have to go into them. Because we don't know exactly, and what we do is very young children, especially now when I do that, what do you say? And we discuss with the young children because when we are on that, they make it they are true, and I say, no, here we have a big mistake here, and we don't know exactly. This is a job for you. And they are very excited with the idea, and they are thinking of that, and talking to their parents. So I think, really, we are not in the solution.
We're not the solution. That's right.
We are really excited. They are the questions are not the solution.
When she says LED, she means LEDs. You call it LEDs in that case.
Yeah.
Do you have a way of measuring, do you show them, like, oh, it's giving off this radiation, do you have a meter or?
Well, it's not only with the young children, but it's a very, how to say, expensive operation. So it's a high level and school that we have in the center of transportation school, and they have videos on that, and two of my students that have been talking about that. The students have to, my students have to make a talking about with a current study. So two of them have their second work in this school, and they don't do that for the children, and it was 5 years ago, and since now I am very cautious with this young one, telling them what to do. Because there is a special within the school working in the school.
If you can make a video or something,
Like that, and what's the trainer?
because sure, I think if you tell them there's radiation, if you can show them, okay, we put the meter here and
We have something I will collaborate accommodation for that.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
That we are not yet helping with this one because it's not the same. I think it's good.
I don't know. Even with LED lights, it's a technology that's not quite there yet. And the lifetimes are not as secure as they're advertising. The efficiency is better, but it's still not, I mean, there's a lot of blue lights in LEDs. That's what we're trying to actually get away from, right? And there are other things, other options coming out now. There's like an amber put in LED or something. But they're trying to solve the problem. So keep your eyes on the technology, but it's not quite there yet. And then here this is just a wow example. We won't spend time on this, but what are you looking at? What are you seeing?
Blue.
What's that?
Yellow light.
No blue. Okay, that's it. There's blue. No blue, right? And there's a reason for this. It's known as anyone know?
Bug light.
Bug light. And it's because they don't necessarily see these colors. They see orange and they ultraviolet and blue. You talk about, bug peppers. This is just fun. And talk about how that color is. But the one that I want to show you in the end here is the halogen light. You guys, are you familiar with how halogen works? This is very close to, I mean, for the other kids, it's say it works somewhat like anything does with smoke. But it has an extra process. Now, you see the effect, maybe I want to blind you guys. The computer watch here. Is that blinding you? No? process to it. So it does have a solid that has a gas in there. The tungsten gas? Rob? No, the tungsten gas.
Halogen.
Has a halogen gas in this, right? Sorry. And so what's happening is actually, because of the halogen gas, the metal that actually kind of sublimates off of the solid, the substance, actually gets redeposited onto the halogen gas. And so it has a longer lifetime than a regular incandescent, but still it gets a little more efficient, but not takes a lot more than incandescent light bulbs. And you know, the ratio of how much light it produces, how much total energy is giving off, is still about the same as incandescent light bulbs. So it's not really that much more. So, you know, this is what you use in sporting facilities, your carport walls, something like that. That's big clumping blur light. So this is kind of things you get into with your kids. You can do more physics with it and have a pretty good time. And the last one is so any online. Find it. And you know, some of it is directly related to the color that you see. Some of it is a combination of phosphors in the tube, in the part of the tube that's giving you the results of color. So it's not necessarily, you know, if the green one is not necessarily blue to begin with, it's a combination of yellow, that sort of thing. And you see them. Where do you see them in those colors? There's an easy answer. Don't think too far. You see them as they would fall in the rainbow, right? Yeah, it's pretty cool. So it's just something that you can get there. And again, it's just a gas that's in here with the phosphor coating. That's about it. So it's fun with Spectra. So then this is a way you try to, you know, tie some fitness in here with the older kids and also try to get the concept of phosphor there are in each light bulb, pretty much because you don't see the whole spectrum. And the way that the light is produced and also deal with how efficient also. How we start to address it. Any questions on that? You're laughing, so don't worry about that. Okay, so, Connie, there's I definitely get educated about the energy and about the yeah, there is such a small amount of mercury. It's not harmful at all. So if you get it deposited as you would mercury bulbs, safely, the accumulation of many bulbs has lots of mercury. But one bulb in itself is something like, I don't know, 0.04. So if you break it, so if you break it. Yeah. No, I think it's such a small amount of mercury in here, it doesn't really stop harmful. So is there I know, like you're saying it's such a small amount, it's not harmful. So are there studies about that? Studies. I think probably I haven't looked into it. Mostly what I've read off of the, you know, information companies about it. But okay. Well, another international, well, it's not concerned because it's a good thing. You're trying to save out incandescent bulbs. So in the United States, some places like it within 3 years. California says it's by 2018. So, and I'm not quite sure. It's not exactly a law, but and I'm not sure how they're going to be enforcing it, but that's something to keep in mind. So they're trying to get us to use more energy efficient bulbs. Countries all over the world, not just in Korea.
In my community, we see Wisconsin is a lighting manufacturer called RUD, R-U-D-D, and they are working on the LED.
Right.
They've just helped Los Angeles starting to convert their streetlight, and they're helping the city save $10 million a year, plus saving energy.
Yeah, but that is issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, because with the streetlights, what we'd really like to see is smart grid lighting, so that when a car passes close to a light, it turns on, and then when it goes away, it turns off again. And you can do that, for highways.
Yeah.
Right. That's what they're doing is they're making each of those streetlights will have an array, either an array of LEDs, but what we want them to see is actually using a combination of phosphors so that you only have a particular color, or if you can make the LED have a particular color. But right now you don't really have a yellow colored LED. They're trying to work on that. So it's very growing technology. So what you don't want to see is an LED with a white light spectrum. That's not what we want to see. But anyway, life is a compromise, All right, so I'm just going to mention this last activity before talking about glow at night. Big ones, and then we'll bring it into the big ones. Oh, it's not very long. So should I use it? Oh, do you put it over there? There's not kitchen.
Yeah.
Okay, so guys, sorry to interrupt you. So actually I have a favor to ask you. It's okay. We have the first cut of our Spectra. It's just the information. It's nothing else right now. It's not a lesson plan or anything, but it does take you through different lights and what you would do with kids of different ages with those lights, as we did over here. And it just has some background information as well. And it was an assignment I gave an optics student to do, and he did a pretty good job. He works for us. But we need to vet this a little bit, and if you have any comments on it, we'd be more than happy to get your feedback. I'll be leaving on Friday. I can either send you the file itself, or it's on the section of the PDF files on the CD.
Some extras here. Somebody want some?
You should have it on the table there, and as well as a second handout, which says the Outdoor Lighting Audit on the top of the page. And I have a feeling we only have time to kind of show you what the lighting audit is about, but there are 3 versions of this lighting audit. If you really want something that's a bit more intense, there's the high school version on the CD. Anyone who needs more copies? Okay. But this version is the easiest of the versions, just simply because of the lack of time. I wanted to show you the heart of it. On the first page, you're asking them to actually do a bit of a survey of outdoor lighting. Say as a homework assignment would be around their home. If you did this at the school, you pick up 2 buildings to do this with. You might put them into groups and have them survey a building apiece. But they would basically go out and survey those kind of lights that are around that building, maybe take pictures, maybe draw a schematic, whatever you think is applicable to your situation. And then once you have that information of how many lights, what kinds of lights they are, and hopefully what kind of wattage each light has, even if it's a ballpark kind of guess, or you can ask the janitor. You might want to get from the front office an estimate of what the typical amount is for $1 per kilowatt hour, and a kilowatt hour is basically a unit of energy. Okay? Yes. No, a watt power, and then watt seconds or whatever. Yeah. Oh, did you?
Came up with a $8,000.
You're kidding. For just the school?
Just for the high school, elementary school. Yeah. That was went out there. We did not only lights, energy. We also did uses of computers in the room and things of that nature.
So you did indoors and outdoors?
Indoors and outdoors, yeah. And gave a presentation, and they started instituting this. And I don't think they got $38,000 savings a year, but they had close to $10,000 that they were pulling up.
Wow. 10,000 that could be used elsewhere. That's wonderful. Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's marvelous. This is a very practical thing to do, and it actually is extremely easy. As you can see, it's only basically a one-page calculation. It's not hard. And we have, younger kids doing it too. So, and so we do a before and an after, basically. And it doesn't have to be, it could be just a thought experiment. So if you were to go back and say, okay, I'm going to not use these lights because they're not really that useful to begin with. I'm going to replace these lights with the contact fluorescent lights. And then you recalculate based on maybe 13 watts for the CFL instead of something that's like for an incandescent light bulb that might be 75 or 100 watts. So you recalculate all that and you figure out how much energy you're saving, which makes a difference from before and after. And then you can translate actually that into a cost. How much money did you save? And you can actually translate that into a carbon footprint. So how much CO2 emissions did you? Thank you. So it's kind of a very, very straightforward thing to do. And if you want publicity for your school, great way to do it. If you want to really do some sort of community service for your school, this is a great way to do it. And it teaches them a very practical lesson, how to be good stewards too, like responsible. So it's a nice little activity. Do you want to take a moment to look over those pages? If you have any questions, I can address them.
The suggestion or actually add for this.
Oh, sure.
If you could have examples of spectrum. What would you see if you would point so? Because many times what I get is the school calling me and saying, I'm looking to the lamp in my street, the town hall, the municipality doesn't know what kind of lamp it is.
Right.
I see something but I cannot tell what it is.
Right.
So this is brilliant. And if you could have a spectrum here.
That's good. Yeah, the types of lamps are in the high school version, but the Spectra is a very, very good point.
So that they can, because the activity we're trying to do is to do the spectroscope and have them go outside and hear out the different spectra of the different lights.
That's right. That's part of, that's exactly right. It's part of the Outdoor Lighting Audit. That's good. Yeah, I'd still do that. Thank you.
And can we have this in editable format to translate?
Yes. If you, after the conference, just email me and I'll get you the kick. The thing is, I really should make another version. Okay? All right. Any other great questions? That was about the light spectrum. All right. So, basically that was the school outdoor lighting audit or the outdoor lighting audit, the plan as well. I was going to transfer over to talk to you. How much time do I have left to talk about COVID?
Carl, are you what's
in local chair? I think probably maybe we overrun about 7 minutes. We have a shorter coffee break.
Connie's asking where she is.
Yeah. So I think the next scenario you put in history there should be 16 more minutes.
Well, we can. Well, this is a bulb at night from 2011, Volcanic Spring. The light of the dot is the brighter sky, which you see there, and the dark of the dot, the darker. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about bulb at night. How many people have heard about the campaign? Oh, that's wonderful. And it's probably over 60.
They're all in my mailing list.
What's that?
They're all in the mailing list, right? You are all in the mailing list.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you do have two versions. You can just use it naked eye. These are the cyclone units that we introduced you to. And we've had about 66,000 observations from 100 countries. The website is very user-friendly. Probably just a third of you looks like this website. But it has background information which is kind of meant to describe what magnitudes are, outline the constellations of interest that you're going to use for globe at night. It has 5 easy steps to participate in the program. And this is a really cool thing. Features like this change in latitude and the limiting magnitude. So it's not something starting to see, and that change your latitude. What happens to the line appears to our latitude of the planet? Went from where you are now, with here, southern hemisphere about the same latitude as what would happen to you. You go from the northern to southern hemisphere, and what happens to the orientation around?
Flips upside down.
Basically, so that's pretty cool. Kids don't realize that. It's a nice way to illustrate the point. There's things to download from the web pages. We have some postcards for you to give out at the very end. They're at the back there that advertise the upcoming campaign. We're going to have 4 campaigns this year, middle of January, February, March, and April, and it'll be 10 days apiece. You have your pick, or you can do all of them if you want, which is great. I advocate that. We have a report page, which I'll go over in a second, and a map page with up to 6 different kinds of formats you can download for the data. This is very conducive. I like using Google Maps for myself, so there's a KMZ file there for each year. So you have, the whole premise is, and this is something the public really doesn't need to know, but the whole premise is you have magnitude charts 1 through 7. And we just call them chart 1 through 7. But each of them represents a limiting magnitude. That means that this chart 1 has a limiting magnitude of 1. So the brightest star, the faintest star you could possibly see is extremely bright, actually. So it's like New York City. And down here, with limiting magnitude of 7, you have a lot more stars, hundreds of stars. And so that means you can see maybe it's a national park. They're out in the middle of the national park. You can see many, many stars. So that's how you kind of do it, very easy scale. And so what you're doing by picking a chart, which is all you're doing, you're matching what you see to a chart, and then you're putting it online. And you're basically, you are measuring the next type. Very good. Is that clear? Yes. Absolutely. Now we've changed it in the last year. We've got our webmaster did a fabulous job at making a web app, actually, a web application for the smart cell phone and iPad, and also and then So if you want, right now on your
you can actually
the minus in the corner.
It's not on here.
Yeah, you're not mirroring your.
Okay. Well, anyway, it's www.globeatnight.org. Right where I needed it. So www.globeatnight.org, and then you can say /webapp, WEBAPP, and you can go right there now, if you'd like. And if you have a smart device, it automatically puts in the date and the time, and actually it finds your longitude for you. So it's just automatic. It'll show up here on the map, or you can put in a commonplace name or an address, whatever you'd like, and it'll find it for you on here. And then you can verify it down below. I can show you that in a second. And then over here, if you click on any one of these, compare it. We'll have like a red light. It'll be a red light mode at night, so you don't, it doesn't spill your nighttime vision. You can actually click on one of these. It'll show up here, there, and you can pick out which picture. And the final one you choose is the one you choose. Globeatnight.org. No, globeatnight, one word. And then you say /webapp, WEBAPP. Yeah, I can't. It doesn't show up here, so I can't.
She doesn't.
You watch the screen.
No, she can't. She doesn't have the mirroring.
Oh, but if she goes looking, if she wants to, if she tries looking at there and moving your mouse here.
Oh, wow.
Just try.
That's the mouse is up there.
Go up.
You have to watch the screen. Just do it. There you go.
Oh, no. It's on the one.
Yeah, it won't do it because it's not below.
Your head is right.
It's below.
Put a minus. There you go.
It's below. You have to stop your presentation. Now you can do it.
Now we're there directly.
Now try to hit it, Connie, to hit the minus now.
What's that?
Try to hit the minus signal now.
Okay,
Yeah, the minus. Yeah, that's it.
That's it?
Move it down. Yeah, that's done.
All right, so here we have, we're interactive, and it found us. Oops. But it's showing it interactively. Anyway, we lost it, but get back.
What are you looking at?
Anyways, it lost the actual page when we went to it.
It's to your right, to the right corner, top. Yeah, that is it.
Okay. So I found it in Williams Bay. So automatically. So,
wow.
Yep. And right now I think it's set up Leo. But we have Leo, we have the Southern Cross, we have Orion, and we're hoping as we grow in terms of the months of the year, we'll have more constellations that are basically ones that people recognize that are not hugging the horizon too much. But here you have the main of Orion. So, when this is set up to connect to our database, you would click on which of the four you change here. You're going to change the chart. One magnitude of 1, not very many. And 100. view. Then you just pick what the sky conditions are. So is a quarter of the sky full clouds or half or more than half? And if you have a sky quality, you need to put out the comment on the sky and your location. Just jump down here, there, on the sky. And then, for instance, there's a street light 50 yards away, or my porch light is on for relevant. And then the sky quality meter right here, and it should be values pretty much between 16 and 24, and it has 2 decimal places typically, and then the serial number, anywhere from 3 or 4 numbers, is on your meter. I can show you how to get that if you'd like. If you have a meter. And that kind of helps us keep track of, because we never ask for names, never, because we have purple laws in the United States, we're to protect the child, so by doing the serial number, we know if a batch is bad or not. Trust me. Got it for the actual web application. Is that kind of straightforward for you guys? Is that okay?
And isn't there a page where you print out the charts?
Yes, well, very good.
It's great for working with folks and all that, and all that.
Can they submit? Can they submit it via snail mail?
No, we actually, I get a lot of those responses. I'll tell you guys, because I don't tell very many, but if you have hundreds of measurements that you want to put personally into an Excel file, say you have your kids coming in every day and you want them to put in, get the measurements into the pool. I have, and it's on one of the pages on Globe at Night, I have Excel files you can download so that they can submit it in their classroom. You make sure that they've done their measurements. They submit the measurements, and then at the very end of the campaign, within the 10 days you have after the campaign's over, you can submit that to me, and I'll make sure it's pretty much the right format, right? I can add that to the database. That's kind of easy. But I don't usually advertise that unless it's people I know and I trust, and I can actually use the Excel file in that. So if that's what you'd like, that's available to you. We prefer it's more than just like a dozen measurements,
Yeah, I guess the reason is because he's working with kids where no electricity is available.
Yeah,
so.
Well, there is something in October. It's not. It's by a bunch of colleagues. It's called the Great Worldwide Star Count. Yeah, and that's using sync. Right. They started. They were the group that helped us start this online, and then they went off and they did the one for the fall. Yeah.
I wonder if you what the dispersion is on usually the same time and the same site.
You mean what the values that they put in?
Yeah. What's that distribution?
It's mostly magnitude 3 and 4. Is that what you're asking?
Like how accurate?
Oh. Well, it is age dependent, because a young eye will see a lot better than an older eye. So we've seen pretty much maybe up to half a magnitude. It could be, yeah. Well.
Wow. It might be a fun master's education, science education piece. To look at the distributions from sites.
Yep. We've had some people do things like that, similar things to that. And they compare it to sky quality meter data or the MSP data. But another feature you may like is long-term measurements. If you click on that top thing up here, we take you to another web page, and it actually logs all the measurements you have with little pictures of where you took them and stuff like that. So you can actually cut and paste that and keep a record. That's a really good thing. And we now have a map application. May I show you that one? Real quick?
Sure.
So that's the bottom page. You saw that? That's the smart device you can use for this. Then map application. If you just put in, all you need to do is say your commonplace name or address, what latitude and longitude. You click on map it, it'll go there. And then you say you want what radius you want around the city, 20 kilometers, or something bigger or smaller. And then you click on what year of data you want. You haven't quite made it. By the time you do the campaign, too if you want, but I tried it for Scene area or Bay Area, and this is a few measurements. But here in Tucson, we have, 1,000 measurements per year, typically. We have a lot of support.
Could you do it live now?
What's that?
Could you do it live now?
Would I do it live now? Oh, yeah.
Try Lisbon, for instance, or Portugal. I'm curious.
Sure, but yeah, if you want, we could make the map now, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we could do that, but I want to make sure I just get through the rest of the stuff, and then we can do it maybe afterwards if you're interested. But I just want to mention that we have the downloadable data sets, and you can use this in terms of that's Tucson, you can get the population. The property this is population. Or actually, the light is very, very interesting. See the light, or just for the most typical light data, the one that's high quality meter data. Pretty well with the population. And then we have, you can compare the photographies, and or you can photography at night, like you're doing in World Cup, and you can surveys. You can look for dark sky waves. Look at big box companies for dark lines. Shows the effects of the animals, for instance, that we're starting to do that as well. And this is one of our preliminary maps that we have. The strike quality unit. We're looking into whether or not we have to protect this land and see the threat and danger of and it's a border that's just outside of the city, the dark side border. We have also the research project. We have 900 so it's kind of a lot of data. Very difficult now. But, and we have a student, an RU student. Do you know about RU? The research experience for undergraduates on that. Other towns have used it to go to their city council. They take a sky quality data and see like this is the stadium and this is the business area up here, the wider point of the what they use this data to go to the city ordinance for 2 years and just capture lighting. But they did it because it's part of the.
That just happened?
What?
How long ago?
Last month. 2 years ago. And then there's other kids that are younger. So that was the high school kids, I should say. And the previous one was the Amateur Astronomy Club in Oklahoma that did that survey. You can actually get the kids to do a lot of good stuff. And this one was a bunch of elementary and middle school kids in near South Bend, Indiana. We did a huge survey, 3,400 points, a couple of years back, and generated a Lego map of 35,000 Legos to represent their results. They were asking how bright the night sky is. They found it 9 times brighter than a limiting magnitude 6 sky, and they're up to the computer. So really, they got a lot of publicity, and they went to their city council. So you can do a lot of good things. I just wanted to mention that, again, these are the dates, and it's on the postcard back there. These are the websites of interest. There's that darksky.org webpage that I wanted to direct you to. The International Dark Sky Association, headquartered in Tucson. And then our Global Night website, and this is the one webpage right now that we have the bulk of the activities that you're getting on TV. We're going to transfer that over to probably Globe at Night this year. Lastly, we just have this Trump Portugal.
Very cool.
Yeah, the club that did Globe at Night last year. And then, anyone know Joan Chamberlain? I'm sure that somebody here must know Joan. He was in so a lot of cool things happening. So you wanted to go, how many, we have 1 minute left, maybe? Yeah. Wanted to go back.
Portugal.
But the city, for example?
No, the whole country, because it's tiny and spread.
So how? I don't know exactly where it is.
Yeah, good. It's in the very center of the country.
Okay, there you go. And what radius would you like?
In kilometers, 300.
It's another phone. 2011, I think?
Let's see how we did.
There you go.
It's where all the cities are. Very good. Very good. Wait, don't move.
So it's pretty much as easy as pie.
Pretty cool.
So really, I'm interested in people who would like to collaborate on projects and have any interest or just have a basic night where you can start fundraising around till past Friday. Very, very happy to. Or get ideas. Things grow with ideas. So, that's it.
Actually, you have to be very early by it.
Oh, sure.
Are you putting the slides up on in the abstracts?
I have to do all the slides except the back one.
Okay.
Because that actually shows the roofing area.
Okay, we want to
That's a big no-no.
This finished page in my house is basically my chimney of the main building. And if you're wondering where that's where I found them.
You guys have to come to Tucson because there's several bridges in Tucson. One that has up to 15,000 bats that come out at sunset. So we were down there filming with a Korean film crew the other day, and we saw the mass exodus of these bats, and it was very dramatic.
Awesome.
Awesome. Very awesome. All right, so is that what you were looking for? And I have cards. So I can leave you with my. All right.
So, Calvin,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
need to say thank you for the fact that we are just a very few minutes to our halfway, so we should almost now
We'll transition
begin
over.
the next slide.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please stand by.